I went to a writing retreat on the Oregon coast a few years ago, and this poem came out of that. And it is a place you cannot get to. Like when the tide comes in and goes out, there's an estuary, and at certain points you can only get there by boat, and at certain points you can only walk, or whatever. Anyway, so I don't know if that made sense, but here we go. Entering a wild place for Katie Raditz. To get to West Wind, we leave our cars at the gate where the caretaker waits with a flatbed to haul sleeping bags and gear to camp. At high tide, we could take a barge that follows the estuary to the sea, but our timing is wrong. We have to walk. It's about a mile, he tells us, but it is something more than a mile. Our eyes, unaccustomed to looking so high, squint as we scan the tree canopy for the source of bird trills, wrens we can't see in the branches 40 feet above us. With each step, the old mind chatter becomes more subdued. Elk leave tracks in the muddy places. Salmonberries in bloom. Hummingbirds flit among the brambles. Their movements pulse like electricity. They surround us, but it takes half a mile for us to spot one, a flash of rust brown against green bushes as it drinks from the cup of a flower. The sight of that tiny bird's throat, bright and unexpected, a new thought. Okay, this comes from watching too many PBS science specials. Long ago, when we had no eyes, the earth absorbed and reflected light, and there was movement like shadow. We cared when folks started about those spiky ones among us who could swim fast or nip at our heels, which we likewise did not have. We mostly floated oblivious, but liked sunlight, that warm, delicious sense that you might say smelled of coffee and baked goods. You would sport paisley and stripes. I might waltz around in lumpy polka dots and not even know it. Then eyes started popping up on the more aggressive types, who quickly picked their favorite color. Tasty, they said, smacking lips. Just a few short mass extinctions later, and there are feather people and fur people, the sleek ones with scales, and the ones who make clothes. Nobody talks much anymore, not like the old days. Now we eye each other nervously, watching for the next among us to go unseen. Okay. And this poem, actually, you know, you were saying, Leopoldo, about people saying things in ordinary language, and then that could be the beginning of a poem. Kim Stafford, who's William Stafford's son, is really into that. He actually wrote a whole book called The Muses Among Us. And I was in a workshop with him, and the first line of this poem came out as something he was trying to find a room at the copier in this building we were in. And I said, well, it's easy to find, but it's impossible to explain, so I will take you. And he said, write that down. And so this is where this poem came from. Right on.
That's nice.
Okay, fish out of water. Some places are easy enough to find, but it is impossible to explain how to get there. There are telephone numbers I know by heart, but no one answers in time. The children I raised, the child I was, play hide and seek in and out of trees whose once familiar branches grow out of reach. Just yesterday, I saw a great fish swimming in the loose garden dirt where I had been digging potatoes. He looked up at me with one flat eye, then flipped over and swam deeper into the earth. A little weird. When there's lightning, I count the seconds. When there's lightning, I count the seconds. Thunder drops a low growl, the weakest dog in the pack. will bare his teeth and glare after the danger is gone. How far away is it? The air is warm and thick. Overhead, low clouds crowd and collect more than they can carry. My body feels heavy these days, sensing more gravity in every step. New things I see already have a flash of memory about them. I travel roads, not noticing how my thoughts fill the highway, the valley, the arc of empty sky, with nothing. The first drops of rain hit flat on the heated rocks and pavement and almost evaporate. When the full storm rolls down the hillside, the water knows the way and hurries to the lowest places, drowning out the spoken sound of a human story that would give meaning to clouds or rain or the weight of living in a body. And I'm somebody, I love going to thrift stores and estate sales, and then there's some people who say, I think it's a feng shui thing, that actually you shouldn't bring anything into your house that somebody else had, because you don't know what's metaphysically attached to it. So I'm kind of toying with that idea. After an estate sale, oh, and there's one other thing you might need to know. If you're not a person who does a lot of needlework and stuff, they do make these little scissors that look like a crane, where it's, the beak is this pointy part of the scissors. And so there's handwork you do, and you can get a fancy pair of scissors like that stuff. Okay. After an estate sale, people who know about such things say objects that have been handled and used bear the imprint of the woman who used them most. Like the embroidery scissors shaped like a crane, its blades forming a long beak that opens and closes. All those years of snipping the edges of her decorative work to make an image out of wool or silk or cotton, and then carefully slipping them back into the leather case, have made their own pattern. While the needlepoint canvas will recall entire conversations that took place while fingers needled in and out of the tense mesh where the pattern is printed, the scissors know the fingers, the shape of them, that slipped into the looped handles. You unsnap the case, and your thumb and forefinger dip into the cool metal frame. For a moment, it is as if you become the task at hand. You could forget you even have a name. You cut a long stretch of floss, and numbness crossed your fingertips. You've done so much by hand, you think. That's why they tingle. Yet, some people are certain the other woman stays with her belongings. And you slide into those scissors as if you fit into the glove of her hand. Be careful, they say. You don't know who she was. But you have so much in common. Already you are wearing the dead woman's fitted blouse, the white cotton, clean and good. Okay. And I think anybody who's ever lost somebody may have experienced this when you call their phone number. Reckoning. At the end of the hallway, in the house that is no longer home to you, a telephone is ringing. My simple-minded heart imagines the sound of your voice will scatter the regrets that cloud around me now, like so many pigeons released from tight cages, as if I could wrap my awkward questions around the spindly legs of birds. My insides flutter at your recorded voice and hang up. I want too much for this grief to end without a single word. I want instead a fragile tone, like the sound of a toast, where our gathered friends reach toward each other, arms held high, glass to glass. and nothing breaks. Okay. You asked if he cooked. My father never had a kitchen. That was my mother's territory. He had shelf space in the refrigerator for ginger ale and Pepsi, and stashed the salty snacks above the stove, put whiskey and vodka in the cabinet under the telephone. Homemade wine rested in 10-gallon jugs on the basement floor. He had cash for Chinese food when the takeout was ready, and a tip for the barmaid who brought the extra olives. And that was how he cooked. And then this one, I'm sure you guys here heard about this because it was in the national news. This was in Portland. You know, I'm living a little ways away from there now. But in May, there was an incident on the Max commuter train, and there were the two young girls, and then a man yelled slurs at them, and then people came to their defense, and somebody got killed. 2 people got killed. So this is called City of Roses, Portland, Oregon. Long after the girls run out of the train, after 2 men fall easily with the gravity of dark wounds that drip from their necks like garlands, after the man with the knife is arrested and a 3rd man lingers at the hospital, after the dead are photographed by the police, the girls are still shaking and weeping. The man in the jail is calling for death to all people he fears, those who lurk in his different mind. It seems some beast I thought was tame slipped from a cage a long time ago. It prowls among us and feeds, whether or not anyone pays attention. My senses dull to news of repeated violence, yet the sharp sides of debate make me wince. When the president throws words around, they land like bricks, and some small, important part of me scatters like bits of glass in a parking lot. He clicks his teeth, and all over the country, things snap in place like handcuffs locking tight. It's tempting to try to stand in a place where everything seems clear just because I have that option. I would like to fit this incident into an appropriate box, but a new dimension tears at the edge of my logic. I see the girls out of breath, upright, but leaning forward with hands on knees, catching their breath, looking up at me, and I don't know what to do. And then this is, and I know you guys know about this big earthquake, right? That's supposed to come either in 5 minutes or 400 years. Yeah. And I'm freaked out about that. And also that the whole idea that dogs can know that that's going to happen before it happens. And so this starts with an epigram, which is a quote from the Geological Survey. So I'll read that and then we'll start. It's dog sense. Here's the quote. Few humans notice the smaller P wave that travels the fastest from the earthquake source and arrives before the larger S wave. But many animals with more keen senses can. Animals and Earthquake Prediction, United States Geological Survey. Okay, dog sense. Maybe what dogs sense just before an earthquake is the feeling of walking on high wooden bridges made of loosely bound boards. It makes cool dogs want to howl. Or it comes like a wave that paddles from the stars, making the planet wobble like a poorly thrown ball. And dogs remember the creaking sound of the earth stealing time we all thought was ours. Does it pinch those upright ears? Or is it like the rough call of canine names escaping the pointed mouths of their mothers? Could be what dogs sense just before an earthquake is not sound, but the smell of the earth rising and falling like a lump of yeasty dough. Maybe what a dog feels is a vibration that builds slowly as one of the earth's plates tries to rub its back against another, familiar, like the hollow steps of the man who used to beat him, getting closer, until the earth cracks like a crooked hind leg as it breaks. I got 3 more, then we all get it right? Okay. And this just has to do with, well, this is estimates. The creek by the house makes everything damp. The roof contractor said so, pointing his finger at a patch of algae. The creek is green, stagnant where a neighbor has damped it with rocks. For a moment, I think if my dad were alive, he would know what to do. I feel like a child and remember a Swiss cottage music box he once revived with a little oil. He knew the way things work and how they fail, how one small weakness, a leak in a pipe, a clogged gutter, a leafy green elm tree too close to the roof can take down a home. He understood how electricity runs through the veins of machines to become a human voice, how it moves through walls of a house unseen to make light, and how, with a careless touch, it can strike from hand to heart to death. It's been years since he's gone, or some other measure of distance. I remember him going on, pointing at me, red-faced with whiskey, mixing vodka or pouring wine, always shaking his head. It feels wrong to think of him this way, and I can't stop what I remember. Everything eventually unwinds, just like that old music box, playing the same song without interruption, like breath, until it stops. Okay. And this one, when I just say the title, people think I'm speaking German. I'm saying the word hindsight, like hindsight is 2020. So, this is not a German phrase. But anyway, hindsight. When I open the letters, more than words fly out. Bees, alert for the first hint of pollen, crawl out between the pages, circle my head, and disappear. It's all there. Our honeymoon, that fishing trip of tangled lines. Later, spring days spent hiking near the river. Even our stillborn we buried in the rocks. In my fingers, grit and an odd tickle. Tiny red ants retrace the path of each sentence in my hands. They know what it means to follow one thing after another in the constant search for sweetness. He writes of the abandoned cat, never really welcome, and all our separate friends. No mention of weeks past in heated silence, or the one last entry I would write to remember the whine of the screen door before it slapped the house. Folding the letters, there's a low hum and an irritating prickle on the skin that I am sure my younger self brushed aside, smiling when she handled these pages, thinking of honey. And the last one, this is called Abstract. My friend says nothing should be named that doesn't live or breathe or suffer. So no name for cars or toys or hurricanes. And once we step beyond our bodies, he knows there is no door through which we pass, no forest floor scattered with leaves, no empty free fall into open space. But I remember naming numbers as a child, since abstract truth seemed harsh to me. 4, I think, was Alice, even-tempered and dependable. 7 was named Steve, good-looking but prone to rash behavior involving luck and cards. Now, I still try to identify larger unknown variables like love and grief or circumstance, those points I can't precisely map. Yet they sit down and know my story as if they charted it before I breathed a word. To my friend, I say, try to name the thing you know does not exist. Not to give it breath, but to create for it a place where it could breathe.